My name is Tina, and I'm 15 years old. When I was 11, I was sexually abused. I will never let anyone ever do this to me again.
Yes, it still hurts, but I'm free. Free to capture the nightmares inside my dreams and lock them away inside the dungeon of forgiveness. I'm no longer pissed off or mad, but I find it so sad that you had no self-control. You molested my body, but you couldn't touch my soul.
My family took it rather hard.
And when time has finally come to an end, and when it's all been said and done,
I would not want a child to experience what I experienced.
always remember who you are, a survivor and not a victim.
Survivors, not victims of sexual abuse, came about through a vision that I had. And this vision made me realize that the abuse that I went through was not for nothing. Basically, I realized that because of my experience with childhood sexual abuse, maybe I could reach others and let them know that we don't have to choose to remain victims, that we have the choice, we have the freedom to choose to be survivors. And from that vision, I just leaped into it, and this is something that my dedication is to right now. There is an estimated 60 million survivors of childhood sexual abuse. Childhood sexual abuse is a problem that many of us have either experienced, faced, or currently undergone as a reality in our lives. And we choose to keep it silent, afraid of the consequences it could cause if we spoke out.
I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, formerly a school psychologist. Most studies show that 1 out of 3 young women between the age or before the age of 18 are either the victim of rape, date rape, or molest. It's just staggering when you think that 1 out of 3 of our daughters are subjected to this in our culture. Most horrible cases with predatory child sexual abuse. That shakes an individual's entire personality structure to the core. And
I was only 7 years old when I was sexually abused by 2 close and trusted friends of the family. One of these men was a pastor. These 2 men subjected me to the kinds of evil sexual indignities that you couldn't begin to imagine your child experiencing. These men raped me at their will and forced me to feel inhumane when I was just a child. I began to feel that it was a natural thing to have happen over and over again because I knew no better. No one ever talked to me about sex or warned me of any signs. These men were never exposed, investigated, or arrested for this horrible crime they repeatedly subjected me to. In my case, I never pursued any legal actions against these men. First of all, because I was a child. And when I grew up, they were already old. So at this point in my life, I'm hoping they're basically 6 feet under, if that's okay to say. But I wouldn't be able to tell you at this point whether they were still alive or not. My family took it rather hard. They actually found out when I wrote the book. They knew that something had happened, but I never dispelled all of the information. I was ashamed. And these men, they threatened me that if I knew it had to be wrong because they threatened me. One man would tell me that they would kill my grandmother. The other one, who was actually the pastor, threatened my brother's life. Those words that those men told me as a child, they lingered for a long time. I didn't know as a child because I didn't understand as a child. All I know is basically these men were having me doing things that I didn't understand. No one ever taught me about sex. I didn't know anything about sex. I didn't know the warning signs. I didn't know anything about it.
Basically, what are the signs and how early developmentally is it advisable to teach children about basically the way I present it is good touch and bad touch. And basically a very important element, and I work with preschool age kids on up, from 3 or 4 on up, that we should not go into other people's personal space. And if children learn that their personal space is theirs and that they need to respect other people's personal space, that tends to make them much more capable at recognizing when their personal space has been violated.
Basically, the way I handled or dealt with my issue of sexual abuse was through my writing about it. I was determined that I didn't want to go to a therapist or psychologist or psychiatrist. I didn't want to lay on anyone's sofa, and tell my life story and what happened when I was a child. So a very dear friend of mine, who unfortunately now is deceased, but he was the one that encouraged me to write about this. The name of the book is Visions from the Past, a True Story. It is written under a pseudonym by the name of Natara Anderson. And the reason I did that was, even then, I was still hiding from what happened to me. When I wrote this book, it was a self-healing tool for me. And I had to relive everything that I experienced when I was a child. And after that, it was just, I felt much better. It was like a load that was lifted off my chest, off my back, off my shoulders. And that's why at this point in time in my life with this organization, our slogan, our campaign slogan is, don't hide behind the face of shame, but speak out, because silence and sexual abuse is not the answer. And I realized that silence only kept you or keeps you being a victim. The benefits that the community will receive from the organization will be the workshops that we intend to implement within it. The workshops, the organization is a support organization, first of all, meaning that we want to support you in any way that we can. We will provide self-esteem workshops, rebuilding your self-esteem, because I know for me, at one point in time in my life, self-esteem wasn't really there. And that's something that really, really needs to be rebuilt when something like that has been taken away from you. Another one of the workshops that we want to implement is spirituality, because for me, I had none. So growing up, I heard about God, I went to church, but at the same time, I knew that one of the men that sexually abused me was a pastor. So I had to learn faith and spirituality. So that's one of the workshops that we would like to implement. I would basically tell the community, especially those that have suffered sexual abuse, that yes, it does break us down, and we can allow it to hinder us and keep us from being the successful people that we know we can be, but that is a choice. It's a choice as to whether or not we remain victims. God gave us the ability to choose that. I chose to become a survivor of this. I chose to overcome it. I chose to build this organization to help those that have suffered through it to overcome it, and to realize that they too have a choice to become survivors and not remain victims. Don't remain silent. Please visit our website at www.survivorsnotvictimsofsexualabuse.com or email us at snvinc@aol.com. My name is Veronica Thomas, and I am proud to present this message.